Hello, everybody. I'm really glad that my talk is after Martha's talk because it's also going to be a little bit about making sure you're all right as a leader in all this. But before I start, let me ask just a question. Is there anybody in the room who already saw that picture? Because that means that you would probably already seen my talk during Agile by Example last year. Yes, YouTube counts. Okay, there are some hands in the air, which is awesome. So for you too, no worries. This is the only slide I reused. The rest is all completely new, so no worries about it. But for the rest of you all, this picture basically means three things. The first is that I really love cars and motorcycles. So I'm going to be dropping those references for the whole presentation at you. And I'm sorry for that. If you don't like it, you need to somehow survive this. The second one is that it's going to be very personal. So I know that there's a lot of research, there's a lot of data and everywhere about this. I'm going to be dropping some hints here and there, but what I want to focus is really my experience. So like my thoughts, how I approach things, and where I think I do kind of okay, and when I feel that I really screw things up. And the third is, I really like this picture, not because it's just a beautiful view in the middle of Romania, but also you can see these two roads leading in a different directions. And for me, this is the sort of the metaphor for the dilemma that every manager, every leader is facing when it comes to emotions and empathy. Because there are these two roads and you don't really know which one is going to lead where. Is it going to be exciting? Is it going to be dangerous? Or is it going to be just boring? So I'm going to try somehow to tackle this during this presentation. And now let's jump to the topic itself. Why is that the B word over there? Where is it coming from? What does that really mean? And in order to do so, and especially there are so many people who hasn't seen the talk, I need to dive a little bit to that, to the past. So what I did during Agile by Example, if it works, is I made a certain confession. So what I did, I wanted to summarize my journey, my history of becoming a manager, becoming a leader. So after a decade of working various roles, so the last one was an Agile coach, I decided to become a manager, and I wanted to share with the others what were my experiences, what were the ups and downs and everything. And what I also wanted to do is share some hints, share some insights. What were the things that helped me out, and what were the things that made it more difficult? And at first I said this, that for me, that was really crucial, and I even called it the holy trinity of whatever I do, is that I really focus on me being a manager, me being a leader, on empathy, authenticity, and transparency. These are the three things that really comes together, and it makes me a leader that I want to be. But like a minute or 2 minutes ago, I said that empathy is a bitch because it will make your life really painful, especially if you don't have personal boundaries and you take too much on yourself. And to be completely honest with you, this is not something that I really rehearsed. This is not something I planned to say, okay, this is going to be this thing, this will keep people moving. Not really. This sort of came out. Probably Martha will describe, what are the things that were happening in my brain that caused this. But after I did this, I was sort of like, okay, probably nobody really noticed. This is going to fade out. This is going to be like, this is not going to be any topic. And actually, during the same the conference itself, there were only a couple comments about this. People just reached out, etc., etc. But the magic happened when the video was out, and more people who knew me very well or know me very well started watching it, and they started approaching me and talking about this. So their first reaction was, You really said that in front of all those people. It's like, what was going on there? And I was like, I know this is not something I expected to happen. But later on, I started to notice a certain pattern when it comes to those conversations. So I basically saw that among all of those people, there were two groups. So the first group was like, yeah, I completely agree with what you said. If you're a manager, empathy, emotions, this is useless. This makes things so messy. It's just trouble. You know, if you can cut it out, it's good. Then you're a good manager. Mm, there was another group who was saying like, "Oh, come on, is it really? That is something that makes you a person. It's like that's the why. That's the why how what I like working with you. You know, as a leader. So you know, please don't cut it out. You know, be yourself in this." So after all those conversations, I've noticed that there are these two concepts of what the leadership can really be, and how the leaders should behave. So there's this one concept, probably. It's obviously it's a simplification, but it's like more about data, results, all the things that you can measure, results, no emotions included, and that's one way of doing things. And another thing is adding this human factor, the emotions, the empathy, understanding how other people may react, how they feel, etc., etc. So obviously, and I promised this, I started to look for some analogies in the world I love, which is cars. And I came up with that one, and I feel that during this conference we have a tendency to laugh a little bit about Germans. So there are these two concepts of building cars. If you think about, family sedan, you can think of this guy, which is a Volkswagen Passat, classic German engineering. And can you imagine what's another concept of building cars? Italians, thank you. The Italians and the Alfa Romeo. This is, they cannot be two things that are so much different to each other. And I'm starting to think, is there any relation between this and those leadership concepts? Because if we put those two cars in a race or in a ring sort of competition, what do you think the Volkswagen brings to the table as a positive one? And maybe two disclaimers. Let's forget about the Dieselgate, because I think like everybody was lying. Just the Volkswagen was the one that got caught. So that's one out of the way, and maybe leave it, to the pre-electric time, because from the perspective of a car lover, this unifies it too much. So let's stick it to the old days. So what do you think? What's the Volkswagen way of doing things which is good? What's it bring to the table? Reliability, quality. Yes, it is availability, predictability. You got it all right. So this is reliable. This is economical. This is practical. This is safe. This is a safe choice, basically. For a car lover, what it also brings, it's freaking boring. Sorry to say that, but it just is. There's no this thing that makes me run to the nearest shop and buy it. It's like, okay, this is another car, yeah. So when you think about alphas, and maybe do it in another way, like the Polish way, so start with negatives. What is the alpha that's bringing it to the table, to the race, to this competition? Price might be one thing. Non-reliability. Maintenance. Okay. What else? It's good. So this is definitely unreliable. It is costly in terms of maintenance and buying, etc., etc. I added quirky and weird and form over function. And like a funny thing about this particular model is that this is a 4-door sedan, but the front door is just a tiny little bit too short for the bigger person to comfortably enter the car. And why is that? Because it would look bad. It will ruin the look of the car. And this is why, and this is what Alpha is bringing to the table. This is exciting. This is, I have chills on my hands. This is like this is the passion is coming out of this car, and it's absolutely stunning and beautiful to look at. So, I'll try somehow to talk about this, and I'll get back to this. Whether is it so easy to just replace the pictures and talk about those leadership strategies or not when it comes to empathy? And so, in order to say, let's talk about what empathy really is. And I was looking for some good definitions, and that's the first one I found. It's the official one. It's from Cambridge Dictionary. And it says that empathy is the ability to share someone else's feelings or experiences by imagining what it would be like to be in that person's situation. And to be honest, that felt kind of flat. This is like, it's all right. But I was sort of missing a couple of things that I feel that that are important about empathy. So I found another one, obviously, which is, in my opinion, better. And this is coming from some medical article. What it really says is that it is a complex capability enabling individuals to understand and feel the emotional states of others, resulting in compassionate behavior. And what I like about this definition more is that those things that I highlighted in orange, basically. So the first one is that compared to another one, it's not only about feeling. So the feeling part is obviously important, and some say that it's the sort of emotional part of empathy. And there are even some crazy research and experiments done, obviously, by American scientists, that they were, lining up that group of people. They were plugging them in the monitors of their brains, and they were electrocuting them in order to see some pattern, like how the brain reacts when people feel pain. And later on, they were showing them, which is even probably more creepy, videos of their loved ones being electrocuted. Leaving the cruelty aside, this is the interesting part they found out is the reaction in the brain is very similar. I hope you confirm that. I see that you're nodding, so it's probably not 100% the same, but there is a link. So when we say, I feel your pain, for the person that is really empathetic, that really is the case. It's not only a figure of speech, it is actually what is happening in their brains. So that's the one part I like. But also what you can see is the part about understanding. And this is some people call it cognitive empathy. So this is where we can really understand why people are behaving like this, why they feel like this, what might be the reaction to whatever is happening in the world. And the combination of those two has an impact. And that was the main thing that I was missing in another definition, is that it results in a behavior. Because if it was only about, feeling and understanding, that it wouldn't be worth to talk about it. And the thing that is like the juicy stuff is that it really impacts the way we behave. So why people say that empathy is messy? By the way, quick hint, if you ride in a group of motorcycle riders in the dirt, it's better to be a leader, which is not probably directly comparable to the work environment, but in that case, it really is. Because otherwise you will be catching all the dirt and all the dust with your face. So this is me making this a little bit educational as well. Coming back to the messy part, why people say that it's messy? And the answer is fairly simple, because there are some risks connected to it. And I will probably show you that this is mostly connected with the emotional part, but we'll come back to that later. So the first one is that there's definitely a difficulty and bias with tough decisions that might appear. So typical managerial situation, typical leadership, the situation that every leader is facing, you see that somebody is violating certain rules, or is just toxic to the team, or is just not delivering according to what you agreed, what you expect, etc., etc. From the logic perspective, the decision is simple. Fire them. Plain and simple. But then if you add empathy to it and you start, thinking about, okay, how is it going to affect their family, how they're going to feel, whether this is going to impact their life, this is making it more complex. So if you let it out, if you let it sort of impact your decision and the way you do the decision for the leader, that makes the decision more difficult, longer, and not necessarily a good one. Another one, taking furloughs very personally. I can say, talk about my examples. Every person leaving my team, no matter whether it was my decision or it was that person's decision, I really, relive this all over and again. And this is not really safe and not really good for your mental health. And this is where we come into the third one, which is emotional drain. And then you have, people performing on big conferences and saying bad words about empathy. This is sort of a signal that something is not going very well. And there's the last one. And I call it negative impact on team results. And this is probably when you can find all kinds of examples. The easiest one to imagine is that being a empathetic leader, you just focus so much on everybody being, happy and how everybody's feeling. So the team sort of switches focus from delivering value, delivering work, into, focusing on how they feel. And that is not really good for the performance and the results if you make the switch very drastic. And another one is, this is going to be a very, my story. What I did, I think I messed up quite a lot. This is going to be controversial, but I still don't going to do it. And in order to do so, I'm going to move back to February 26, 2022. And those out of in here who are good with dates and have good memory will probably know that February 26 is exactly 3 days after the war in Ukraine started. So we're all stressed out a little bit. We're all shocked and everything. And imagine me sitting comfortably in a chair, having breakfast in the morning. This is Saturday, sun is shining, the weather is beautiful. This is perfect day. I'm just scrolling the Facebook feeds for some dopamine rush and to check out what is going, how is it going. And there's this post from a random guy. And the guy is like, hey, people, I know a guy who knows a guy at the border, and it's just absolutely terrible out there. So I just want to go. So if you want to bring some stuff out over there, like let's meet at this parking lot at the shopping mall. And by the way, I just have a small car. So if you have a good big car, just come over and let's go. So what do you think what I do? I go because it sounds like a perfect idea. I don't know a guy, but he knows a guy. So it seems legit. So, just let's do it. So the only thing I do is I call a friend of mine who lives nearby and I was like, hey, what up? How are you doing? Do you mind, going to Ukraine with me today? And he's like, yeah, why not? So we go. And we meet at this parking lot, and this is probably the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. This is the humanity in its purest form. There are like tens of people. Everybody is bringing tons of stuff. This is pure self-organizing team. Like nobody knows where we're going, how we're going there, but we're just packing stuff on our cars. There's like plenty of it. Like there are 6 or 7 cars packed through the roof with everything that people brought. This is beautiful. Everybody's tapping on your shoulders. I feel like a superhero. I'm going in to save the world. So we go. And this is a long ride because from where I live, it's around 400 or 500 kilometers to get to the border. So when we get there, it's already dark. And this is where these things go very bad, very quickly for the empathetic person. Because what I see there is, this is thousands of people. This is a mess still. You need to remember this is a third day. So there's no, big charities organizing all this stuff. Everything is sort of, um, somehow works, but it's not in the best way and not in a super efficient way. So there are like thousands of people waiting in a line that never ends for 20 hours or something like this. And it is dark, it is cold, and it is quiet. So for the empathetic person, I really feel everything that's going on there. And even now, after those 2 years, it is difficult for me to talk about this. And you might say, okay, this is a terrible story. Why you bring this up? And imagine me coming back after such a weekend where I should probably recharge, being packed with those emotions, completely exhausted, devastated by what I saw. And what I do, I go to work. Monday morning, I go to work, and what is the first thing I have in my calendar? A team meeting. So what do you think is me being me, having all those thoughts, all those experiences? Do you think that keeping my mouth shut is the thing that I really consider? Not so much. So imagine me at that time not being such a bad storyteller as well. So what I do, I just unleash it all. I unleash all the emotions, everything, all the experiences to the team, and I ruin it for them. I completely overload them with this because there are also some very empathetic people in that team. So they lose the ability to focus on work for at least a week or even more, some of those. So I'm saying that because if you are an empathetic person, and especially if you have this feeling part really strong, you need to watch out because you have the responsibility to protect others from yourself in that situations, especially being a leader, because you can impact the way the people work and how they behave in the work environment drastically by what you say and how you behave. But it's not so bad, all bad, yeah? This is going to be the difficult part for me now to switch you from that drastic story to like some unicorns and rainbows as well. Because I think it's really worth it because there are some clear benefits if you, at the right amount, add empathy to your management and leadership style and the way you work. And the first one is that I really think that you can make better decisions because apart from data, facts, you can add this human factor to every transformation, every change that you're willing to make, and you just have a bigger picture. So you can spot some risks that you can mitigate before they even happen. So from that perspective, that is from my experience, that makes those decisions better at the end. The second one, this is the topic that is popping up very frequently during this conference, so psychological safety. And it's again, the good example that I have, because I've been working with people and some of them were, for example, struggling with depression. And the thing that they were saying to me, and this is obviously very rewarding for a leader like me, that they were saying, okay, I knew that I can come up to you, I can talk about this, you will understand, and we'll figure out the way how to deal with this. And this is so important for me getting better. So this is because I think that this is not, the leader's role is not to only be for the team when everything is all right, when there are indeed unicorns and rainbows, when the things are going bad and they're affecting the people's ability to work. This is where I should also come in, and the empathy part is helping this out. And what it brings all together is at the end, something I feel that really is happening, which is a stronger engagement in the relationships. Because when people feel safe, when people know that they can come up to you and talk about difficult stuff, they immediately feel safer in this environment. And that brings, that they are more open to talk about mistakes, to focus on improvements. And at the end, I really believe that it leads to better results of the team after all. And the last one is rather selfish, I would say. And there are more and more people say about how lonely the role of a leader is, because no matter how much you try, no matter how much people like you, no matter how much you like them, you're never gonna be their friend. And because we talk about power, no matter how much you try, there's a little imbalance all the time, because when a time is bad, this is gonna be you, this is gonna be me who's gonna fire people. This is usually going to be me who has a budget for raises, for salaries, etc. So there is this little imbalance that makes this true friendship not really possible. But you are also, as a leader, you are a person, right? So you have those days when it's bad. You feel bad. You have trouble focusing on work, etc. Everything. And for me, this is really important when there's always somebody coming in and saying, "Hey, how you do today? I feel that you're struggling with something. Can I do anything to help you out?" So that, from my perspective, makes it really worth. Because otherwise, if I was the Volkswagen of the management, that will probably won't happen, because people won't focus on that much. So this is a summary, and I want to sort of summarize this, saying that if you look at those risks, they are usually connected with the emotional part. And if you're one that feels that this is this is your thing, this is where you need to watch out, really, to not overload people with how you feel and what you feel, and also protect yourself from this. Because it will make indeed your life really painful as a leader. But on the right side, you see those benefits, and that is where the perspective of understanding other people's feelings, understanding how they react, how they behave, etc., etc. This is coming in, and I think that you really need to build on those two. So, looking back at this picture, I really feel that the one over there is a little bit like a Volkswagen Passat. It's safe. It's safe. You can predict the results. It's not so messy. But I really think it's worth to try that one, because if you get the balance right, if you put some right dosage of empathy to the work, I really think that you can achieve anything. And on a closing note, I found this lovely quote from Maya Angelou. She was a American activist, civil rights activist and writer, and she said something like this: that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, so people will forget all the KPIs and goals and ambitious things that you wanted to achieve, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And this is something I think make good leaders great. This is something that changes. And just to close, with obviously car things, I used to have a Volkswagen, and I don't think that much about how practical, how economical, and how reliable it was. Instead, I will never forget all the memories, all the emotions, all the sounds, everything that was coming from this old Alpha in the picture. So yeah, it's worth it. And thank you for that.